Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, I'll look at entrepreneurship in the internet age. I'll speak to the co-founder of the social media powerhouse, Reddit.com. So filling in today for Malika Bilal, we have our digital producer Omar Butter. He's here looking out for all of your live feedback. But I have to say, Omar, we've had tweets about Alexis being on the show. And we also have had comments from our team. I was coming upstairs in the elevator to work and Al Jazeera's Joss Rushing was like, have you got Alexis Ohanian on the show? I'm definitely watching today. Alexis, there is buzz about you.
Wow.
So what are you seeing online?
Actually see online. People are quite excited. If you take a look at my screen, Proud Pashtun Lady tweets, "Oh yes," in all caps with an exclamation point. Reddit co-founder Alexis is on the stream. Would be great to listen to him speak about his book without their permission, which of course we're going to do a little bit later on in the show. For those of you at home, especially if you're as excited as Proud Pashtun Lady, we want you to be part of this conversation. So tweet in using the hashtag you see on your screen right now, AJStream.
So joining us on the set, we have Alexis Ohanian. He's the co-founder of the website Reddit.com. He's also the startup guy behind web ventures, including Breadpig and the travel search site Hipmunk. Alexis, hello there.
Hello.
Are you ready for the next 35 minutes or so?
I am.
Okay.
I am indeed.
Looking forward to it. Now, before we get started, I have to tell you that we're also joined in our conversation by a mix of Redditors and entrepreneurial types. They're really eager to ask their questions via Google+, so we'll be hearing about them. Before we get that big conversation started, here's a little more background. So it's the self-proclaimed front page of the internet. The online discussion forum Reddit.com boasts over 80 million registered users, and it's one of the top 100 visited websites in the world. Now the concept, it's easy. Let the users decide what's the best content on the internet. Community members or Redditors vote for what gets featured at the top of the site, and Reddit's gained a reputation not only for turning web content into viral sensations, but also for wielding the type of sway that gets even world leaders to engage with people on the site. So how did this all get started, and how did it become one of the most influential online communities in the world? Well, that story has been told in a new book by Alexis Ohanian, and it's called Without Their Permission, How the 21st Century Will Be Made, Not Managed. So I have an early copy of the book here, Alexis.
It's a collector's item.
What were you like when you were like a little kid? Give us a little personality insight into you.
I was a chubby, nerdy kid who spent a lot of time working on computers and had a bunch of great friends who also probably spent more time playing video games than we should have. But generally pretty happy. Oh, you've got the photo.
I got a picture.
This is swag.
It's on page
right
20.
here.
Dave on Steadicam, come up close. Tell us about this picture.
Yeah, that's me with my dog Max. We actually had even lamer photos, and I was kind of showing my dad like which one of these do I want to put up in this book, and he picked that one. So I was like, all right, Pop, we're gonna go with that.
Why this one?
You know, I think it's funny. I think the perspective that dads have. I don't have any children. I'm gonna have a cat, but it's not quite the same. I think he always still thinks of me as that kid with the bowl cut. And the dog and all that stuff. But I tell him, I'm like, Dad, I'm never going back there. That's not, the bowl cut's not happening again.
Sure.
But for him, it just sort of struck a chord at sort of the right place, right time for him.
Cool.
Alexis, we have a lot of questions for you coming in online. We have this comment by King Peter Bex from Facebook who says, some say entrepreneurship is inborn and others say it is developed. What is your take on this? Which one is more true?
Oh, there are people who may have a predisposition for it, but it is absolutely something that is acquired and learnable. I find it so awful to hear that there could be these people who are just born a certain way who are entrepreneurs, and then there are other people. In fact, one of the big cases I make is that being entrepreneurial, like just having ideas and doing them, is something that so many people are doing all the time, and that I'd like even more people to do, especially now that they have the internet, to make those things reach even further.
What do you think those predisposition, say the word for me, Alexis?
Predispositions?
That's exactly, those factors are. What do you think you had there as a little kid that helped you?
These were, and I want to be very clear, actually, they may not even, there aren't so much, well, okay, it's the environmental things that one can't really control that just happen. It's the fact that, like, as a I think a 15-year-old, 14-year-old, my parents didn't have a ton of money, but they had enough to buy a computer for me.
Right.
And they had enough, they didn't know anything about how to use it, but they were just like, you know what, play with it, figure it out. We'll get you an internet connection, figure it out, and we trust you. These are things, this is access. Once you pull back the curtain of a lot of entrepreneurial stories,
sure.
you start learning things like, oh, well, it makes sense because, he was just a kid born in Brooklyn, raised in Columbia, Maryland, who had a computer when he was a teenager during those formative years. There are these things that give certain people advantages, like the ones that I've had, that are part of helping us get to a place where we can get more people getting online and getting those same advantages.
Sure.
Because we're not there yet.
So let's bring our Google Hangout into the conversation. We have Tiffany Chen, who is a web designer and follows Reddit pretty closely. Tiffany, you had a question for Alexis. You want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So my question is around, we know you're involved in so many things, and your mantra is to make the world suck less. So how do you decide what to devote your time to, and what do you think are the most important social problems that young entrepreneurs can work on right now?
Wow. Okay. Oh man. For me, the decision-making process is actually going to seem very inelegant. I'm really just trying to figure out in every position I have, where can I use the opportunities and leverage that I may have. And so, after the SOPA-PIPA defeat, a lot of people were looking to me for guidance on, where the internet was headed. And so I thought, all right, it was this that spawned the book and spawned the crazy 150 stop tour to encourage people to basically use the internet to reach their maximum levels of awesome, whether they want to be artists or activists or entrepreneurs. And look, it's not my place to judge. There are so many things that need to be done and are being done by people to make the world suck less. I think it's amusing when folks like Bill Gates make snarky comments to Mark Zuckerberg about, hey, good job wanting to connect the world online, but I'm trying to cure malaria over here. I think that's more important. Those things are interesting and make headlines, but at the end of the day, I think we all have passions and we all have things that we want to do that can make the world suck less in its own way.
I am looking at a picture on my laptop, and this is the group that started Reddit.com. Take us back to that year. We're in 2005 right now.
Yeah.
All right. Who's there other than you?
So there's me and Steve, and of course our Reddit alien mascot. That's Steve on the right.
Right.
Chris was our first hire. So Steve and I started Reddit in May of 2005, or June of 2005 with Y Combinator. By the end of those 3 months, we had raised a whopping $82,000, and we're living in a small apartment in Medford, Massachusetts.
How did you raise $82,000?
Y Combinator.
I mean, that's a lot of money.
It is funny if you read the startup headlines these days. Companies in that same position might raise $1 million or $1.5 million.
Wow.
For us, this was thrilling. We thought the same thing. We were like, we can live like this for another year and a half at least. We don't need salaries. We just need food and ramen and like an apartment. And that's what it was. It was 2 people in a little apartment in a suburb of a suburb of a suburb of Boston. And then we moved in with Chris. He had 2 spare bedrooms. We moved into his apartment. Chris, now Dr. Chris Slow, became our first hire. He would go on and he worked with us at Hitmonk, ran tech at Reddit. And it's that kind of serendipity that all happened. And it all started with just a fortuitous train ride to Boston, meeting Paul Graham, who would go on to start YC, which we would go on to be accepted into.
Sure.
Alexis, to get a little bit more into Reddit itself, one of the criticisms that mainstream media gets a lot is that there's this chase after ratings as opposed to focusing on what's important in the news, and kind of Reddit is sort of, in a sense, it's a more democratic forum. But we have Aisha here, if you take a look at my screen, commenting on Facebook, who asks, Reddit chooses information based on popular opinion. Does that not take away the choice and enforce a mentality where we focus on what is popular and not what is right? Does that problem also transfer to what happens on Reddit?
Yes. I mean, I don't think, and this applies to so many social media platforms, right? Every subreddit, there are about 5,000 subreddits now on Reddit and growing. And so each one of them, world news, world politics, NFL, basketball, Brooklyn Nets, all these different communities, based on upvotes and downvotes, determine what is most sort of newsworthy. And this is a challenge no one's really solved it, right? We all intellectually know there is important news we should know about. And we used to rely on sort of tastemakers and editors to make that decision. I think we can all agree they didn't always make the right decision. They didn't always cover the most important news of the day. Now we all have this power. However, in the speed of the internet and our short attention spans, the things that tend to do well are the things that can be digested easily, right? The photo of a cat, the things that can be shared easily. And so there's no, I think Reddit and social media platforms like it are a step forward in the right direction, but it's still not a total solution, because then you have to ask the question, who ultimately will decide what is the newsworthy content we should all see? Who is going to be the arbiter? And we had a model with limited tastemakers who didn't always get it right. We now have a model where anyone can do it and they don't always get it right. But I do feel like it's moving in a better direction, because more stories are now surfacing that did not before. And I think you guys do actually a very good job of surfacing those things up and getting discussions around them using what's already happening online in social media.
You can't escape talking about Reddit.com. You sold it after 16 months. You sold it for how much?
I made a gentleman's agreement never to talk about it, but you can Google it. It was.
So it really is 20 million then?
It was an absurd amount of money.
And how old were you at that particular point?
23, 22.
What did you do? How did you spend your first million?
I actually literally the first thing I did was upgraded my dad's season tickets for the Skins, and we have front row seats now with two of my childhood friends, and I called up my mom and I was like, I'm gonna get you whatever you want. And classic mom, she was like, I don't want anything. I'm like, really? You're
just
making
your
this so hard
love,
on me.
darling.
I know. And I made the best thing I could do was make a donation to her favorite charity. But I had a tremendous amount, and a lot of people always ask. I had a tremendous amount of influence in a span of like 2 years, where a lot of people around me who I cared about very deeply were facing questions of, not to get too heavy, but mortality. And what that did for me as a 21 or 22-year-old that was so impactful was it helped me realize what people actually care about when they're on their deathbed, literally. And none of it is stuff. I mean, unless you're one of those Egyptian pharaohs who's like hoarding everything for the afterlife, like really, no one cares about that stuff. They care about the experiences, they care about the relationships.
And just, I know I'm almost chomping at the bit here, but is this what the dedication is about here? I wish you were here to read this, Mum. May this book, my life, and my persistent smile all honor you.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think she'd be pleased?
She probably would have. I get a little salty in the book. There's a little bit of foul language, but I think on the whole, she was absurdly supportive. That was the other, I think, thing that I didn't deserve to have, but I did, because there were days I would come home. I was a waiter at Pizza Hut for a few years in high school, and I was a very good waiter. I don't want to brag. I was a very good waiter.
How are you a good waiter?
I just got good tips. I don't know. It's treating your customers well. In fact, the best things I learned about entrepreneurship came from having to explain to customers why their pizza was 30 minutes late.
Okay, so my pepperoni pizza is 30 minutes late.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here in Pizza Hut. Give me some entrepreneurship right now.
Well, so hold on. So I'm really sorry.
Excuse me, waiter. My pizza's late. I've been here 20 minutes.
I am really sorry about that. I'm gonna check on the pizza. Is there anything that I can do in the meantime to make this right?
Ice cream, maybe dessert.
We don't have ice cream. I'm gonna figure out a way to get some ice cream, because there's a Wawa right across the way. But either way, I'm gonna try to make this right, because. Did that work? I mean,
he's good.
But look, it's always. I mean, when you're the point of contact with the customer every single day for every 20 minutes, and your entire livelihood depends on how much money they give you after the meal. You realize how important customers are, and it was so incredibly helpful for me to have that experience, and I was pretty good at it. And so my boss Tony, he tells me, you could do this professionally. You should go to New York and be a professional waiter. And I'm thinking, all right, this is great. I tell my parents, guys, I'm not going to go to college. My mom had a GED. My dad went to a hippie school that no longer has its charter. They were like, in their heads, you were going to college. But I was like, no, really, in their heads, they were like, you're going to college. But what they told me was, you know what? We'll support you. Make a budget, figure it out. And of course, when I left the table, they were probably like, "Oh, he is going to college." But the support, it did a lot for me.
We put out a question actually online on what people liked about interacting on Reddit. We have a tweet here from Teddy Wilson who says, "Participating in debates, with solid arguments and where solid arguments are rewarded with upvotes, and tired old stereotypes are lost in most subreddits at least." But I know that Ryan Ross, who's the director of business development for Democracy.com, also has some thoughts on this. Ryan, you want to jump in?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me on. So following up on that thought, political dialogue has had a lot of trouble getting online in a meaningful way. the dialogue between voters and the dialogue between our elected officials and constituents. So my question is, how are entrepreneurs really going to crack the code and make a more meaningful dialogue between political leaders and the public?
Ooh, okay. Well, all right. I believe AMAs are a part of that. It is still.
Ask me anything for anybody who's never heard of Reddit before.
So President Obama did one that really kind of set. That was a sort of milestone for Reddit. And yes, they are in a way. They still feel manufactured like a press stop, but they are a little bit more reflective. Certainly, candidates on their way up could start to build reputations and build rapport using these AMAs, at least while they can be more candid. But going forward, political dialogue. The thing we aspire to, I think, is doable. I see glimpses of it. There's a subreddit called Change My Mind, I believe, where someone poses how they feel about an issue and says, please change my mind. I want to see the best arguments for why I should think the opposite about what I do, and cite them and all that. I think the solution is still yet to be built, because we look at Wikipedia during any heated presidential election or any election, and they have to shut down the pages, right, because people are quickly editing and changing. I would love to see a kind of site, someone out there can build this, that basically takes any debate point, sort of like how Intelligence Squared does the Oxford-style debating, and there's a motion, right? The U.S. should aid the Syrian rebels, right? You find the best experts in the world to make the best argument for the motion, and the best experts in the world to make the best argument against. You can use some of that good old-fashioned voting crowd sort of stuff, but you'd have to curate it to some extent. But it'd be great to have a resource that we could all go to really see, give me the best arguments for and against how I should feel about something. But no one's built that platform yet, so maybe this is for someone in the audience to do. But we're not there yet.
One of the reasons you wrote your book was tell your story, which is ridiculously successful, but also you say in the book you want to help other people become ridiculously successful. I'm going to say you say.
More successful.
Because not many people get to sell their startup in 16 months and become a multi-millionaire. What are you trying to teach people in here?
I of course had to talk about the Reddit story, I talk about Hitmonk, but the best stories in there are the stories about people I've gotten to know in philanthropy, in activism, in entertainment, in music, who are using the same hustle, the same strategy, the same internet to be successful. And for them, it's making a living drawing webcomics, or it's making a living making music, or it's making a living starting a movement. Like, there are so many forms of success, and obviously the marketable one is, hey, you can be an entrepreneur, American success story. But what has made this, I think, resonate so well with so many people is that this, we are still seeing the full extent of what the internet can do to allow people to reach that maximum potential for awesome and be successful however they see fit. And I want people to be far more successful than me in a variety of fields, because I just want better stuff. I want better musicians. I want better politics. I want better nonprofits. And the internet's going to help.
Maximum potential for awesome, is that how you described it?
That's how I think about it, because if you spend enough time meeting people who, one of my favorites is a guy who couldn't even finish the University of Georgia, and he failed out, he bounced around some jobs, moved to New York, had no business doing any photography, but he picked up a camera. All his friends said he was crazy. Yeah. He sucked at first. Sucking is the first step to being sort of good at something, good Adventure Time quote. And he got better, he crafted it, he worked so hard on it. And a few years later, he ends up being one of the most viewed photographers in the world.
What's his name?
Humans of New York.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
you
that just
are
happened.
kidding me.
That just happened.
We are trying to get him on this show.
I will text Brandon for you and put in a good word.
Please.
So here's the thing, right?
Wow.
Fail out of the University of Georgia. Could not figure it. Never picked out a camera.
That
never
is
picked up a camera.
Best story.
Well, and it's an outlier, and I'll be the first to say yes, it's an outlier story.
Wow.
But in what universe, even 5 years ago, does someone, he just started a Tumblr. That's
I'm
all
on
he
his
did.
website right now.
It's an amazing site.
If you want to have a look at it.
He's a New York Times bestseller. Amazing. You should get the book. It's a fabulous, it's a better book than my book. Like, really. He is able to do storytelling as a New Yorker that humanizes. And look, I want to see, and he went to Tehran as well.
It's all over the world.
And so here is someone who literally 3 years ago had not taken a professional photo in his life, had no business doing it. And in what universe can someone like that get a chance without the internet to be this successful, right? How 50 years ago you would have had to you'd have to blackmail someone at National Geographic to get that kind of exposure. I mean, even in a pre-social media world, it's just it's a matter of timing, it's a matter of determination, it's a matter of luck. There are a lot of factors, but like, people like this are doing it right now, and the world is so much better off because Brandon Stanton gets to reach his maximum potential for awesome instead of, I don't know,
that is total. He's maxed out at awesome, I think.
Yeah.
Omar.
So speaking of wanting better stuff out of everything, we actually have a digital rights activist with us. Ernie Zahn, would you like to jump into the conversation?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on the show. I actually wanted to ask, so there are a lot of industries and social justice projects that have seen success with grassroots campaigns, and certainly with SOPA and PIPA that saw a lot of success on the open web frontier. But there are so many other issues regarding open web that are maybe less accessible to mainstream audiences, and how do we make those conversations more accessible to everyday people?
Oh man! All right, this is something I've been thinking about I wanted to get at this with the book, but I think I was hypothesizing about awful things that might happen if we let government surveillance run amok, and then Edward Snowden happens, and they all were true, which was depressing. SOPA and PIPA was imminent threat, and that's what made it so effective. Because
and let me just do SOPA and PIPA for our international audience, because for us
of course,
in the States,
I'm so US-centric, I'm sorry.
Stop Online Piracy Act, SOPA, and PIPA is the Protect the IP Act, and that's important because...
These were two bills largely funded by the entertainment industry as a means to, in theory, curb piracy, but would in fact just break the internet. And we were able to defeat them, millions of Americans, grassroots style, and I happened to be a part of it, but what was so useful there was it really was an imminent threat. This will break the internet. Sites could black out because if these bills become law, user-generated content doesn't really work anymore. Things like privacy are so much more subtle, and in this way, violations of it are more insidious because it's harder to galvanize people. We've seen Restore the Fourth movements. I was at the protest in New York. It was nationwide. There was a Stop Watching Us protest.
Those protests from last year.
A couple weekends ago on the anniversary of the Patriot Act.
Why do you care so much? You are a multimillionaire. Why do you care?
Well, because I'm a citizen first. We have, and here's the thing. It is so obvious to people who understand the technology. Our right to privacy, whether it's our physical mail or our physical home, is protected under the Fourth Amendment, right? If you want access to it, get a warrant. Our digital privacy, our digital mail, our digital storage should be treated the same way. And unfortunately, we don't have enough people in government who think that way. And so to answer your question, I think the way to galvanize people and the way to actually ultimately change the minds of elected officials is to, and I hate to say this, but to tie this to the business consequences of it. Before I went and met with senators and reps about SOPA PIPA, I went on the technology subreddit and asked, do I talk about censorship or do I talk about jobs? And everyone said, forget censorship. Not that we are that cynical, but just, really, jobs are what every elected official wants to be responsible for and not responsible for destroying. And so we have to make this about, if Americans, if anyone in the world does not trust the secure data that is on servers here in the United States, that's going to be a business cost, a significant business, right? The cloud is where all of our data is now. And if no one believes that it's secure because it's in America, that is a huge multi-billion-dollar cost to this country.
I gave you a Sharpie and a blank piece of paper at the beginning of this conversation, and you are known for your doodles.
I am.
We have about 45 seconds left for the end of the show. Can you talk and draw at the same time?
I can try.
Talk us through a doodle as we go out of the show.
What shall I doodle, though?
Doodle the stream. What would you be your doodle for the stream?
For the stream, like a new mascot for the stream?
Yeah, new mascot for the stream. We have like blocks and yellow squares. That's our normal.
What I like though is you've tiled all these photos of all these icons of all the people who are actually using it.
All right, keep doodling. Don't talk.
Right,
stop talking.
We have to. This is so much easier when I'm using Illustrator, and I could go for the obvious stream thing. Hold on, I'm stalling while I write these bubble
15
letters.
seconds.
All right, hold on.
Counting it down.
Okay, hold on.
It's Alexis Ohanian. He's doodling the stream.
I'm never gonna be allowed to doodle again after
More
this.
from Alexis Ohanian in the post show at stream.aljazeera.com. Yes, artistic talent and a multi-millionaire. Why is he still single? Meanwhile, let's look at Thursday's program. We are going to be looking at marriage in Israel. It's very complicated, and we'll be finding out why civil marriages are so controversial. We will see you then on the stream at stream.aljazeera.com. Thanks for watching. Hello again, this is the Streams Post Show. We're talking to a Reddit co-founder and internet entrepreneur, Alexis Ohanian. So we're going to get right back to the conversation. Where did we leave you? We left you with doodling the stream. Can you show to Steadicam Dave or our camera? There you go.
Okay.
Steadicam Dave is coming over.
So this is still, it's a work in progress. This is beta, and I got the ones and zeros here. I don't actually know what this means in binary because I just was writing ones and zeros quickly.
Okay, but you prefer like a little creature maybe?
Yeah, if there is there a spirit animal that you think is the spirit animal of the stream? Yeah. So I'll give you a hint. So I usually ask people this at job interviews because I'm a little weird.
No, really?
I'm serious. My
doesn't
spirit
show
animal,
in public.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad I'm blending in like a normal. No, I prefer the brown bear. I consider that to be my spirit animal because they're the black bear. Oh, that's a big difference.
Okay.
Black bears are much friendlier. Brown bears are like grizzlies. They'll eat your face. Black bears prefer berries. They're kind of chill. I mean, they'll still mess with you.
Yeah.
But they're a little friendlier.
Right.
Is what I'm getting at.
How did you actually get to pick an animal? Like,
what
research did you do?
You can either, I guess you could either like trip on peyote or just think about it. You know, I was just, I don't know. You guys, what would you say is your spirit animal?
Me?
Yeah.
Like just a big mouth. Like whatever animal's got a huge mouth, like a hippopotamus or something.
All right.
With lots of teeth.
You know, and also
Ducky from the Land Before Time.
People are watching this going, I tuned into stream.outdid.com to see the post
show.
Yeah. I want to get juice out of Alexis. So let's get back.
Probably should get back to the necessity of having actually an open internet. We also have in our Hangout Jeff Swift, who's a Reddit moderator. Do you want to jump in?
Yes. We talked a little bit about SOPA and PIPA, and my question to you is, what's the most common mistake activists make in trying to achieve their goals?
Ooh, all right, the most common mistake activists make. You know what? This is a lesson from Mr. Splashy Pants. I got to give a TED Talk about this, so I love it.
I've got your TED Talk here, so you can talk about it, and I'm just going to get it up.
Greenpeace showed everyone how important it is to reach an audience beyond your early adopters, beyond the people who are already drinking your Kool-Aid, beyond the people who are already in your membership base. And so, Greenpeace was taking itself very seriously when they restarted the voting campaign for Mr. Splashy Pants because they thought Mr. Splashy Pants was a silly name. Like, they take this so seriously that they wanted a serious name, and they thought this is just a farce. Like, we can't have this. This is an important cause, which it is. But once they realized they had lost control, and once they realized they needed to get people on board who were a broader segment than just the people who already were Greenpeace fans, they actually found success. And it actually stopped the humpback whaling expedition in Japan that year because people were just really excited to say Mr. Splashy Pants and tweet about it and share it. And so, I think of, we can doodle some more. I think of everything like a tech adoption curve. So it's a pretty normal distribution of stuff. And you've got, we'll do this here. We got, I'm just gonna use this paper. Oh, there we go. So you've got the people who are the earliest adopters, they're the ones who line up for the iPhone.
Sure.
They're the ones who are, and it's the same way in any movement where you have, these are the activists, these are the people who go to protest, these are the ones who rally, these are the ones who are fighting tirelessly, and you're not gonna ever get to hear if you don't have them. But once you have them, if you actually want an idea to become mainstream, it needs to have mainstream adoption. And you need to have a bunch of people in the middle here who aren't gonna wait up all night to get the new iPhone, but who are eventually going to be like, you know what, I want an iPhone, or who are eventually going to be like, you know what, I want to protect whales, or you know what, we need to protect the internet.
Where were you in that?
During SOPA
PIPA?
I'm like right here. I'm right around the inflection point. I have friends of mine who groups like Fight for the Future, EFF, Demand Progress, amazing organizations that are the Minutemen and Minutewomen for internet freedom. They're doing the hard work. I just jump on when they're like, hey, come on, there's something here, we need to get on top of this. And this is a good place to be, though. And we need as many people as possible on this side.
Looking at that piece of paper, it does not look very different from the Reddit website. I know Tiffany Chu is actually a web designer. Sorry for mispronouncing your last name earlier, by the way. But do you have some thoughts about the design of the Reddit website?
Be gentle.
I do. So as a trained designer, I feel like from just a traditional design standpoint, Reddit was never the most beautiful or the most usable or the most elegant website out there.
No.
But it's got this, groundswell of popularity. So what do you think that says about the role of design in community-driven websites, if anything?
One of the things, so keep in mind, I guess in our defense, Steve and I had just graduated from college. We had never really been trained designers. I mean, it shows, right? I like drawing mascots. I'm proud of those. But in terms of web design, we had a lot to learn. What we had going for us, and if you look, Wikipedia, Craigslist and Reddit are probably we're in the club of the top 50 or whatever websites that are user generated and not the easiest on the eyes. I think it's still doable. And the way I would be ashamed to launch something that looked like Reddit today because design standards have gotten so much better in 8 years. But if you can focus obsessively on at least putting content first, on at least making it valuable for someone to grok. I mean, this is text on page, right? All those sites I named are valuable and they all do basically the same thing. It's text or links on a page. They're providing insight, they're providing usefulness. And I would not use Reddit as an example that proves you don't need to have good design sense, because that's a bad idea. The design matters now more than ever. I mean, Hitmonk is entirely a design play. Same team, interestingly enough, just with more experience. But designers like you are pretty much, I think, having a moment right now because more and more attention is being put to user experience. More and more attention is being put to the software that we create and how it looks and how it feels and how users interact with it. And so I think it's a great time to be a designer, and do not look to Reddit for, the only inspiration you should look to is just for getting unnecessary things like advertising and superfluous things like rounded corners for the sake of rounded corners out of the way.
I'm on hitmonk.com. Life beyond Reddit, right, for you. So what do you like about the look of it? I'm on it right now, so I'm actually in November.
As soon as you run
I'm going
search.
I'm going from DC to London Heathrow.
Nice.
So should I do a search?
Run a search so you can see the Hitmonk trying to fly.
Okay.
That might be my favorite. A wonderful animator, Sean Sanders, animated that for me.
Right.
And you wouldn't believe how many people I have come up to me who are doing their Hitmonk impression.
All right. That's what you like about this website, the Hitmonk flying? That's it?
Well, I'm the mascot guy. So you'll see when it loads, we basically took the Gantt chart and made it sexy. It is a way to show all of those flights you might want to take on one page.
Right.
So here, if you zoom out a little bit, and so instead of having like 30 pages of flights, you can actually see, you probably should have flown out of Dulles, more direct flights.
Oh, DCA. No, I think I am flying out of Dulles to DCA.
No,
Wow,
IAD.
it's expensive.
No, IAD.
Oh yeah, IAD.
My dad's a travel agent, so these are
you're right.
seared into my brain.
And this is your region, so you know it.
But you see, instead of having 20 pages of flights, it's just one page, all consolidated visually,
nice.
and we sort them by agony because we know that you want the least agonizing flight for your dollar. You don't necessarily just want the cheapest.
Wow.
But
that's nice. Okay.
It was that 3 years ago made everyone go, oh wow, like there's another way to do flight search, another way to do hotel search. But I think it's part of a much larger trend that's been happening over the last few years, where our standards and our expectations as users have gone up a lot, and a good user experience, good design is almost mandatory at this point.
Do you feel you've got another Reddit.com in you? I mean, that was was that luck?
I hope. Oh yeah. No, there's undoubtedly a part of it is luck. I mean, it's not entirely luck, but there's significant. It's timing. I hope Hitmonk's even more successful than Reddit. It's only 3 years in, but so far so good.
Right.
But I don't know. I have tried to put all of this in perspective. I still don't feel like I have accomplished a ton. I don't know. I hope I can do other things. They may not be Reddit, but I hope I can continue to do things that have some kind of a positive
you haven't
impact.
Accomplished yet? I mean,
my hip hop career has not gone anywhere.
Right? Do you sing? You don't even sing.
I could sing and I could rap and not sing though. But
all right.
Yeah, no. What I've seen on this tour. We're going to 75 universities. All right.
How many have you done so far?
We've done maybe a dozen.
Oh no!
So we're going until March.
A lot more.
Yeah. But there's just among millennials when we're not the perception is we're all taking selfies, and when we're not taking selfies, I mean they are true. We do take a few selfies.
Yeah.
There is this hunger and this excitement to make an impact, and unlike every generation feels that way, but unlike previous ones. We have a world-changing platform at our fingertips that we know fundamentally in a way that the incumbents don't, because we were raised on it. We have a fluency with the internet. You know what this is. This is every time you're talking to your parents about helping them with their email, right? There is a fluency we have with technology, at least for those of us lucky enough to be exposed to it, that is a tremendous asset. And I get to meet so many people who are pitching me on their Etsy stores, who are selling jewelry to people all over the world while they're still undergrads, who are, forcing themselves to write a new piece of fiction every week and publish it, who are like creating and doing in a way that I could have only dreamed of when I was in college only 8 years ago. And so, you know, the impact I want to have now is hopefully inspiring a ton more people, like I said, to be as awesome as they can using the internet, so that I can take credit for it. Because then I will,
so you can take credit for it.
I will brag about that
Just
for a very long time.
Humans of New York story kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, dude, I got a ton of them. It's so, look, and the more of these we can tell, the more people will realize, especially the people who still have the power, how important this platform is to protect, and how it is so fundamental to all of the ideals that so many of us aspire to, not just in the United States, but all over the world, for people to, I mean, we all want this. We all want to reach our maximum potential for awesome. Yeah. And I think that's the really exciting thing about the message, and I love the response that it's gotten so far.
Well, we really enjoyed your company today.
Thank you for having me.
What's the last tweet you got, Omar? What do you got for us?
We have a feel-good tweet from David talking about what Reddit is for him and what makes it so amazing. The sense of power that users have, knowing that they can vote on posts, the community, and its culture. It's like Secret Santa, he says. I'm sure must feel nice to have that kind of effect.
I've traveled all over the world, and everywhere I go, the last trip I took was to Latvia. And everywhere I go, I went on the Riga subreddit, the capital, and I was like, hey, let's meet up, let's do a thing. It was global Reddit meetup day, and Eric, who's our general manager, was in town too, and we hung out with a few dozen Latvians, and it's amazing to see the effect that it's having now on a global level, allowing people all over the world to use these subreddits to share news, have discussions about everything from like local politics to sports to global events, and I hope it can continue to do so, because there's still so many parts of the world where media are really not doing their job.
Alexis Ohanian, I'm calling time in the conversation.
All right.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Also, thank you to all of our Google Hangout, Tiffany Chu, Ernie Zahn, Ryan Ross, and Jeff Swift. Let me tell you what we'll be doing on Thursday. Getting married in Israel, it's complicated. You have to tie the knot in front of a rabbi, priest, or imam. Not only that, if you're Jewish, you have to prove a specific ancestry for the marriage to take place, and forget about interfaith unions. But why is it so difficult? We will tell you tomorrow. But right now, we're going to be online. I hope you reach your maximum potential for awesomeness. See you there. Thanks for watching.